Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the latest intelligence and give you the distilled insights that make you genuinely well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a topic that sounds like pure science fiction, yet it's profoundly real and urgently impacting our digital present. Post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. Imagine for a moment that every secure digital interaction you rely on, your online banking, encrypted communications, even the critical infrastructure underpinning our societies, is protected by mathematical locks that are currently deemed unbreakable.
Right. Algorithms like RSA and ECC, they've been the bedrock for decades.
Exactly. But now, visualize a new, unbelievably powerful computer, a quantum computer, emerging out of the scene. This machine possesses the theoretical capability to pick those seemingly impenetrable locks, not in centuries, but in a matter of hours.
And that's not just some distant possibility. This quantum menace, as you called it, is something we need to address right now.
It really forces a fundamental rethink, doesn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely does. What's truly fascinating here is that we're not just contemplating a theoretical future challenge. The advent of quantum computing is fundamentally challenging the very foundations of our digital security right now. It forces us to confront a paradigm shift in how we protect information.
And PQC, then, is our strategic response. It's the cryptographic equivalent of building a titanium vault.
Yeah.
Designed not just for today's threats, but for a future where quantum machines wield unprecedented power.
That's a good way to put it. It's about forging entirely new mathematical solutions that even these hyper-powered quantum computers will find baffling.
It's proactive defense, really.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a proactive defense of the highest order. We are not passively waiting for the master key to be fully operational. Instead, we are actively rebuilding our digital defenses before that capability is widespread. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a strategic refoundation of trust.
So for you, our listener, who follows this space closely, what's our mission today? We're going to cut through the jargon and provide that shortcut to being truly well-informed on PQC.
Yeah, unpack what it actually is.
Right. We'll unpack what PQC actually entails, trace its surprisingly long and sometimes quirky origins, explore its rapid current developments, assess its seismic impact on cybersecurity, and ultimately forecast what the future holds for our increasingly digital world.
From the nerdy beginnings to where we are now.
Exactly. From its nerdy beginnings to its current glow-up, with enough surprising facts to keep you hooked and prepared. With that stark picture set, let's truly unpack the core problem, this quantum menace, and exactly why the digital locks we've trusted for so long are now suddenly failing. Hashtag 1.1, the foundation of digital security, and its Achilles heel. So, for our listeners who know this space, we understand that modern cryptography, while incredibly robust, fundamentally relies on math problems that are just too hard for today's classical computers to solve in any reasonable time frame. Can you briefly reground us on that foundational principle? What makes algorithms like RSA and ECC so powerful against conventional machines?
Absolutely. The core insight here is that our digital security isn't built on absolute unbreakability, but rather on computational difficulty. The elegance of algorithms like RSA and ECC lies in their computational asymmetry. It's trivial to perform the encryption or generate a public key, but practically impossible to reverse the process and derive the private key without an immense, unfeasible amount of computing power.
Because the math is just too hard.
Exactly. This difficulty stems from very specific, complex mathematical problems, like factoring extremely large numbers for RSA, or the elliptic curve discrete logarithm problem for ECC. These are problems so profoundly hard that even classical supercomputers, as one source humorously put it, would chug along like a sloth on sedatives, taking millennia to solve.
It's a sloth on sedatives. I like that.
Yeah, it paints a picture. So this reliance on hard math is both its ingenious foundation and, as we'll see, its Achilles heel against quantum computers.
So these algorithms, RSA and ECC, are essentially the twin pillars of our digital trust, underpinning almost everything.
Precisely. They are deeply embedded. These algorithms are the backbones of virtually all secure digital interactions you experience daily. They underpin everything from the secure web traffic indicated by that familiar HTTPS in your browser.
Right, the little padlock.
To the digital signatures that verify your identity online, and even the security of blockchain wallets. Without them, the entire edifice of digital trust we've built over decades, our secure communications, financial transactions, and sensitive data exchanges would simply collapse. Hashtag 1.2. Enter the quantum cheetahs.
But then a new breed of machine emerges, the quantum cheetahs. Expert, how do these quantum computers achieve such a dramatic leap in power, and why does it render our current crypto so vulnerable?
Well, think of it less about the intricate physics and more about the power. Quantum computers don't just solve problems one by one, they explore countless solutions simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
This is achieved by leveraging phenomena from quantum mechanics, primarily superposition and entanglement. Superposition allows a quantum bit, or qubit, to exist in multiple states at once, like a spinning coin that's both heads and tails until observed.
Kind of existing in both states at the same time.
In a sense, yes, and entanglement means multiple qubits become linked, so the state of one instantly influences another, no matter the distance. Einstein's spooky action.
Right, spooky action at a distance.
These principles enable a fundamentally different computational model that renders our current encryption vulnerable because it can tackle those hard math problems in ways classical computers simply cannot. They're like, well, caffeinated cheetahs compared to the sedated sloth.
And this exponential leap brings us directly to Peter Shor and his revolutionary algorithm.
Indeed. Peter Shor's algorithm, developed all the way back in 1994, is the conceptual master key threatening our digital kingdom.
The master key, okay.
This algorithm could theoretically crack RSA and ECC exponentially faster than any classical computer. To provide some context, a 2048-bit RSA key, which would take classical supercomputers millennia to factor, could potentially be broken in a matter of hours or days by a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, or CRQC.
Hours or days, that's terrifying.
It really is. This is truly the digital equivalent of a universal master key, rendering our entire current public key infrastructure fundamentally useless against such an adversary.
We also hear about Grover's algorithm from 1996. It's a threat, but it's not on the same level as Shor's, correct?
That's a crucial distinction, yeah. Grover's algorithm offers a quadratic speedup for brute force searches, so it's faster, but not exponentially faster like Shor's.
Okay, quadratic versus exponential.
Exactly. When applied to symmetric key algorithms like the Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, it effectively halves the key's security strength. So, for example, AES 128 would effectively be reduced to 64 bits of security, which is, well, insufficient for long-term protection these days.
But you can fix that, right?
Yes, this particular threat is relatively easy to mitigate. You simply double the key size. So the industry standard AES 256 would retain an effective strength of about 128 bits, still considered secure for now.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the critical distinction here is that for symmetric encryption, it's mostly about a key size upgrade, maybe using AES 256 instead of 128.
Pretty much.
But for public key algorithms like RSA and ECC, Shor's algorithm renders them fundamentally useless, requiring a complete mathematical overhaul.
Exactly. This is why the monumental global effort behind post-quantum cryptography focuses overwhelmingly on developing entirely new public key primitives. While symmetric cryptography requires careful evaluation and potentially key size increases, the foundational mathematics of our asymmetric public key systems, the very architecture of digital trust, is what's truly under existential threat and demands a complete re-engineering. Hashtag 1.3, the hardest now, decrypt later, HNDL threat.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, quite chilling. The harvest now, decrypt later threat. This isn't some theoretical problem for the distant future, is it?
Absolutely not. The truly chilling insight here is that the quantum apocalypse isn't just a future event, it's already happening in slow motion.
What do you mean happening now?
Well-funded adversaries, particularly nation-states, are not waiting for quantum computers to mature. They are actively intercepting and storing vast quantities of encrypted data today. They're just hoovering it all up.
And what kind of data are we talking about here? What's at stake?
We're talking about everything from top-tier government and military secrets to sensitive corporate intellectual property, long-term financial records, and highly personal healthcare information. Essentially, any data with significant long-term value that needs to remain confidential for years or decades is a target.
So their strategy is simple. Play the waiting game. They just collect everything they can get their hands on now, and then what?
Their strategy is precisely that. They're waiting for a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, CRQC, to become available. This is predicted by many experts to be by the early 2030s, or even sooner, depending on who you ask.
The early 2030s? That's not far off at all.
Not far at all. Once they possess that capability, they can then decrypt all the stored data at their leisure. The critical takeaway here for our listeners is that the data's confidentiality is not guaranteed just because the technology to break its encryption isn't massive scale yet.
So data encrypted today with RSA is vulnerable later.
Potentially, yes. Any information requiring confidentiality for more than, say, 5 or 10 years is effectively living on borrowed time if it's protected only by classical public key encryption. This is why the urgency around PQC is so high, it's a ticking time bomb.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, especially if you're handling long-lived sensitive information, maybe in government or healthcare or finance?
This poses an immediate and critical risk for anyone handling information with a long-term confidentiality requirement. If you have data that needs to stay secret for 5, 10, 20 years or more, imagine patient records, government archives, or proprietary research, that data is already vulnerable today if it's protected only by classical public key encryption. This is a foundational shift in how we must think about data security timelines. The clock is ticking now.
So we've established the urgency of the quantum threat. It's real, it's happening now in a way. But every profound challenge has an equally profound solution right now. Let's turn our attention now to post-quantum cryptography, how we're building this entirely new digital fortress. Hashtag checking tag 2.1, what is PQC? Our counterpunch. So PQC is our counterpunch. It's not just a fancy name, it's a whole new class of algorithms designed from the ground up to resist quantum attacks.
Exactly. The explicit goal of PQC is to develop a class of algorithms that are quantum safe. This means they are robustly secure against both classical computers, like the ones we rely on today, and the future, incredibly powerful quantum computers we just discussed.
They're designed for both worlds.
Precisely. They represent a fundamental shift in cryptographic design, moving away from the hard math problems like factoring that are vulnerable to Shor's algorithm.
And what's fascinating, as the excellent materials you shared highlight, is the poetic irony that these quantum-safe algorithms actually run on the very classical computers we use today. No qubits required for their implementation.
That's a crucial and often surprising point, yeah. PQC isn't about using quantum computers for encryption. It's about developing algorithms that resist quantum computers, but can be implemented efficiently on our existing classical hardware.
Okay, so we don't need quantum computers to use PQC.
Correct. Their primary objective is to protect data against those harvest now, decrypt later attacks we just outlined. It's about immediately securing the confidentiality of information with a long shelf life, starting now using technology that's already within our grasp.
So PQC isn't a single silver bullet, is it? It's more like a diverse buffet of mathematical weirdness, each approach trying to stump a quantum computer in a different way.
Absolutely. That's a really key point. The PQC effort isn't putting all its eggs in one mathematical basket, and for good reason. Researchers are exploring a diverse range of mathematical problems, each believed to be fundamentally hard for even quantum computers.
Why the diversity? Why not just find the one best one?
Because this diversity is a crucial risk mitigation strategy. It ensures resilience if a flaw is discovered in one particular approach, which, can happen.
Let's start with the one that's really gained a lot of traction, lattice-based cryptography. What's the core idea there? It sounds like knitting.
Yeah, it does sound a bit domestic. But lattices here are basically highly structured, multi-dimensional grids. And the math problems involve things like finding a specific point or the shortest vector within one of these incredibly complex grids.
Which is hard.
Extremely hard. As one source humorously put it, it's harder than finding Waldo in a quantum foam. This inherent complexity makes them baffling even for quantum computers.
Okay, so what are their strengths?
Their strengths include being highly efficient, making them versatile for both encryption and digital signatures. They offer fast operation speeds and comparatively reasonable key sizes. They are often seen as the Goldilocks of crypto. Not too slow, not too big, just right.
The Goldilocks zone.
Exactly. And the leading examples, Crystal's Kyber, now standardized as ML-KEM for encryption, and Crystal's dilithium, ML-DSA, for digital signatures, have been selected as primary NIST standards, boasting high quantum resistance with no known quantum speedup, breaking them efficiently.
Got it. And next we have hash-based cryptography. How do those work, and what are their unique strengths and weaknesses?
Hash-based cryptography derives its security solely from the properties of secure one-way cryptographic hash functions, like SHA-3 or SHA-256. These are functions we already trust deeply in crypto.
Things we use all the time anyway.
Right. These functions are designed so that it's easy to compute the hash from an input, but practically impossible to reverse the process or find two different inputs that produce the same hash. Their security is extremely well understood, relying on very mature cryptographic primitives, and they are considered inherently quantum resistant by design. As one of our sources notes, if hashes hold, we're golden.
So they're very reliable. What's the catch?
The main trade-off, however, often comes in their practicality. Stateful schemes like XMSS and LMS are highly secure but require careful tracking of key usage. Basically, you can only use each part of the key once. That makes them less practical for widespread high-volume applications.
Right. That sounds tricky to manage.
It is. Stateless variants like SYN-CS+, which has become SLH-DSA, overcome this state management issue but often come with significantly larger signature sizes and can be slower to process. While Grover's algorithm could theoretically have their security, this is typically mitigated by using longer hash outputs, so an AES 256 equivalent remains very secure.
Okay, so trade-offs between statefulness, size, and speed. And the third major family, code-based cryptography.
Code-based cryptography relies on the mathematical difficulty of decoding a random linear code. Think error-correcting codes, but used for crypto. The Menace crypto system, first proposed way back in the 1970s, is a classic example that has stood up to decades of intense cryptanalytic scrutiny, demonstrating remarkable longevity.
It's been around a long time.
A very long time. These schemes offer extremely fast decryption and very solid quantum resistance, making them highly reliable. However, their primary weakness has historically been their often significantly larger public key sizes, which can make them less practical for certain applications where bandwidth or storage is a constraint.
Bigger keys again?
Often, yes.
Okay.
Though newer ones, like HQC, which NIST selected as a backup key encapsulation mechanism KEM, have made improvements there.
I know our sources also briefly mention other families for context. Anything we should quickly touch on there?
Briefly, yeah. There are other approaches like multivariate cryptography based on solving systems of multivariate equations. Some showed promise for fast signatures, but schemes like Rainbow, which was a finalist, were actually broken during the NIST competition.
Broken. Wow.
Yeah, it highlights their inherent complexity and potential vulnerabilities. Then there was isogeny-based cryptography, which used elliptic curves in a novel way and promised very small keys. Sounds great, right?
Very small keys are always good.
But recent and dramatic breaks, like the psych attack we'll discuss shortly, exposed significant risks, demonstrating that even promising avenues can quickly become unviable under intense cryptanalytic pressure.
It sounds like having this buffet of mathematical weirdness isn't just an academic exercise. It's a critical strategy for the future.
Absolutely. The wisdom of diversity is paramount here. Relying on multiple, mathematically distinct families of algorithms is a crucial risk mitigation strategy. As you pointed out, you don't put all your eggs in one lattice basket. If a new attack surfaces that compromises one family of algorithms, we have other fundamentally different options to fall back on. This inherent resilience, built into the very selection process, is vital for long-term security and a rapidly evolving threat landscape.
Now let's talk about how this all moves from theoretical math to real-world deployment. This brings us to the NIST Grand Prix, the global effort to standardize our quantum future. PQC research isn't something that just popped up last week. It has surprisingly deep roots, going all the way back to the 1970s, right, with things like Menace.
That's right. The early seeds of PQC research, particularly in code-based schemes like Menace, trace back to the 1970s. So while the immediate urgency is relatively recent, the underlying mathematical ideas have been percolating for decades, kind of waiting for their moment.
But the real wake-up call, the quantum scare, came in the 1990s with Shor and Grover's algorithms. That's when people realized this wasn't just theoretical anymore, but a looming catastrophe.
Exactly. Shor's breakthrough in 1994, demonstrating how a quantum computer could efficiently break RSA and ECC, immediately shifted the conversation from if to when. The threat became tangible, not just academic.
And that eventually led to NIST stepping in.
Right. By 2015, the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, recognized this looming threat required a coordinated global response. They issued a formal call to action, essentially signaling it was time to panic productively and begin a structured search for new cryptographic standards. Hashtag 3.2, the global competition, 2016-2024.
And that productive panic led to something truly unprecedented in cryptography. A global competition to find these new algorithms. like a crypto Olympics.
Oh, yeah. In 2016, NIST launched what became a public multi-round competition to solicit, evaluate, and ultimately standardize new quantum-resistant algorithms. This was a decisive shift away from more closed-door, government-led cryptographic development, embracing the global scientific community.
Opening it up to everyone.
Exactly. It was a rigorous, transparent process, almost like a cryptographic Eurovision, as one source called it. It started with 82 initial entries from 25 countries, a true global collaboration in defense of our digital future.
And this wasn't just a beauty pageant for algorithms, was it? There were intense, rigorous vetting rounds where people tried to break them.
Far from it. Multiple rounds of intense cryptanalysis followed, where academics, independent researchers, and even hackers from around the world were invited, and indeed encouraged, to poke holes in the candidate algorithms. Their mission was to find vulnerabilities and attempt to break them.
Like stress testing them in public.
Precisely. This rigorous, open, peer review process was absolutely critical to ensuring the security and robustness of the eventual selections, lending immense credibility to the final standards.
Speaking of that rigorous vetting, we can't talk about this competition without mentioning the dramatic downfall of the psych algorithm. This was a powerful and maybe humbling lesson about the importance of such an open process.
The Psych, supersingular isogeny key exchange algorithm, provides one of the most compelling demonstrations of the value of this open public process. Psych was a finalist in the fourth round, considered a top contender for standardization, particularly noted for its potential for very small key sizes.
Which everyone wanted.
Right. However, in July 2022, a devastating key recovery attack was published. Researchers managed to break the algorithm using just a single-core classical computer.
A normal computer, not even a quantum one.
A normal single-core classical computer, yes. In a matter of hours, specifically about 21 hours for a secure instance. This spectacular failure was a stark reminder that even well-researched, promising algorithms can harbor unforeseen vulnerabilities.
That's incredible.
The fact that this flaw was discovered and the algorithm discredited before it was widely deployed averted a potential global cryptographic catastrophe. It profoundly validated NIST's transparent and peer-reviewed approach as an essential defense against unforeseen vulnerabilities. It showed the process worked. Hashtag 3.3, the first standards emerge, 2024-2025.
And all that intense work, with all its triumphs and even its failures like Psych, has finally paid off. As of August 13, 2024, NIST published its first 3 Federal Information Processing Standards, or FIPS. These are truly the new foundational building blocks of digital trust.
Precisely. These aren't just recommendations. They are officially sanctioned standards for federal agencies, and by extension, they set the direction for the industry at large. This is a monumental step forward for global cybersecurity.
So tell us about these new foundational standards. What are the key ones we need to be aware of?
Okay, first we have FIPS 203, which standardizes ML-KEM. This is the primary key encapsulation mechanism, or KEM, which is used for general encryption and establishing secure keys for a communication session, like when you connect to a website securely.
KEM for Q exchange. Got it.
It's based on the Kristall's-Kyber algorithm, which is lattice-based and has been praised for its high performance and comparatively small key size, striking that just right Goldilocks balance for many applications.
And what about digital signatures, which are so critical for authentication and verifying integrity? Like knowing software updates are legit.
Exactly. For digital signatures, we have FIPS 204, standardizing ML-DSA. This is the primary digital signature algorithm based on Kristall's dilithium, also a lattice-based scheme. This is crucial for securing everything from digital certificates that verify websites to software updates and various authentication systems that confirm who you are online.
Okay, so ML-KEM for keys, ML-DSA for signatures, both lattice-based, and then, importantly, there's a vital backup for digital signatures, indicating this commitment to that diversity we talked about.
Yes, that's FIPS 205, which standardizes SLH-DSA. This is based on the stateless hash-based SNCS Plus algorithm. What's vital about this choice is that it relies on a completely different mathematical foundation than the lattice-based ML-DSA.
So if lattices turn out to have a problem,
We have a robust, mathematically distinct alternative ready to deploy. It provides crucial risk mitigation through diversity.
and NIST didn't stop there with backups for keys either, did they? I heard about another one joining the ranks in 2025.
That's correct. In March 2025, NIST announced the selection of HQC, which is a code-based scheme, to serve as a secondary KEM standard. This further diversifies our encryption options for key establishment, continuing that essential theme of not putting all our eggs in one basket.
So when we look at these new standards like ML-KEM and SLH-DSA, what are the most critical differences or trade-offs that organizations need to be aware of beyond just the names? I'm particularly curious about how their characteristics impact real-world deployment. Like, what are the headaches?
That's where the rubber meets the road, absolutely. It's less about memorizing precise byte counts and more about understanding the implications for system design and performance. For example, our primary lattice-based standards like ML-KEM and ML-DSA, while efficient, tend to have larger key sizes than what we're used to with RSA or ECC.
How much larger, roughly?
ML-KEM's public key is roughly 3 times larger than a standard 2048-bit RSA key, and ML-DSA's can be maybe 5 times larger. This isn't a minor detail. It directly impacts network bandwidth, storage requirements for digital certificates, and even memory footprint for smaller IoT devices.
So things might get slower or need more space.
Potentially, yes. Then you have SLH-DSA, our hash-based backup signature scheme, which offers incredibly small public keys, only 32 bytes. Tiny. But the trade-off is often much larger signatures, around 8 kilobytes.
Tiny key, huge signature.
Exactly. Each of these choices involves significant engineering decisions. There's no single perfect algorithm, just the right one for a given application or set of constraints, and understanding these trade-offs is crucial for effective PQC migration. It requires careful planning.
We've identified the threat, developed the new quantum safe locks, and even standardized some of them. Now comes what many describe as the really hard part. The great migration, securing our digital world's quantum future. Hashtag 4.1 current state of play as of August 30th, 2025. So as of today, August 30th, 2025, PQC isn't just something for research labs anymore, is it? It's actively being deployed. People are actually doing this now.
That's absolutely right. PQC is no longer sci-fi. We've moved firmly into the deployment phase, and the urgency is palpable. Governments are really leading the charge globally. In the U.S., CISA's PQC initiative is unifying federal efforts, and the EU has even mandated that critical sectors transition to PQC by 2026.
A deadline already, wow.
Yes, and the U.S. General Services Administration, GSA, is actively hosting webinars to help organizations understand and begin this complex journey.
And the big tech players are already in motion too. Are they offering solutions?
Yes, major tech giants are not waiting. Google Cloud is offering PQC solutions, Microsoft has its Quantum Safe program, and Cloudflare is already implementing hybrid cryptographic approaches, for instance, combining ECC with Kyber in their operational infrastructure. They're testing it live.
Hybrid meaning using both old and new crypto together.
Exactly. We'll talk more about that. Even open source projects are moving, with Node.js adding PQC support in its v24.7.0 release, indicating broad industry movement.
What about the blockchain space, which relies so heavily on cryptography and where the threat of quantum attacks could be particularly disruptive? Is anything happening there?
Oh yes, blockchain projects are deeply engaged. Platforms like Sui are baking in crypto agility by design, anticipating future algorithm changes. Teams from Cardano actually author some of the NIST standards, reflecting their deep engagement with PQC development.
They helped write the standards.
Some of the researchers did, yes. And projects such as QAN and Quoranium are touting native PQC capabilities from the ground up, highlighting the sector's proactive stance.
This all sounds incredibly urgent, and I recall Vitalik Buterin's stark comment about the probability of a quantum break. What was that again?
Yes, Vitalik Buterin, a prominent figure in the crypto world, has famously given a 20% chance of quantum break by 2030. While a precise timeline is difficult, nobody has a crystal ball.
Sure.
This sentiment underscores the widely recognized need for accelerating PQC implementation. It highlights that the threat is not some far-off theoretical possibility, but one we need to be actively preparing for now, as the window of opportunity to migrate is rapidly closing.
This migration sounds like a monumental undertaking. The sources even compare it to being more challenging than preparing for Y2K. Why is that? What makes it so complex? Y2K felt like a huge deal at the time.
It did, but this transition is indeed a multi-year transformation and is considered far more complex than any previous cryptographic upgrade, including Y2K. Y2K was primarily about date formatting issues, a specific, contained problem mostly affecting software logic.
Finding all the two-digit years.
Right. This PQC migration, however, is a fundamental overhaul of the mathematical underpinnings of digital security across the entire global infrastructure. It touches everything.
So what are the main technical challenges we're facing when we talk about this overhaul? You mentioned key sizes.
The first major hurdle is the significantly larger key and signature sizes of PQC algorithms. We talked about ML-KEM being 3 times larger, ML-DSA 5 times larger than RSA keys.
Right.
This isn't just a minor tweak. These larger payloads directly affect network performance, consume more bandwidth, require more storage for digital certificates and keys, and impact memory on devices, especially smaller ones like IoT sensors.
Things that weren't designed for such big keys.
Exactly. In a world where every millisecond of latency and every gigabyte of data matters, this has a significant operational impact that needs careful planning and potentially infrastructure upgrades.
And it's not just software, it's deep-seated hardware as well, right? Like those
Yeah.
HSM boxes.
Absolutely. Much of our critical infrastructure, from financial systems to countless IoT devices, relies on dedicated hardware security modules, or HSMs, and other cryptographic hardware accelerators. These often need to be updated or, in many cases, completely replaced to support the new PQC standards efficiently and securely.
So new hardware is needed in many places.
Quite possibly, yes. The good news is that quantum-safe HSMs are now shipping, indicating progress. But the sheer scale of deployment required across countless devices and systems globally is immense.
And the very core internet protocols that make the web work, like TLS for HTTPS.
Yes. Fundamental internet protocols like TLS, which secures web traffic, that padlock again, and IPsec, used for VPNs, must be thoroughly updated to seamlessly incorporate these new algorithms for key exchange and digital signatures. This requires coordinated updates across the entire internet ecosystem, browsers, servers, libraries, everything. It's a massive, distributed undertaking.
Beyond the technical, what are the logistical challenges organizations are grappling with as they prepare for this? Is it just about the tech?
Not at all. A critical logistical problem, as the sources highlight, is what's often called the inventory gap. Many organizations simply lack a comprehensive, up-to-date inventory of all their cryptographic assets.
They don't know where all the crypto is.
Pretty much. Identifying and prioritizing all vulnerable systems, understanding what crypto is used where, what data it protects, and what its long-term confidentiality requirements are, is the essential first step before any migration plan can even begin. Without this, organizations are essentially flying blind, trying to fix something they can't fully see.
That sounds like step one, and a hard one.
It is often the hardest step.
And this all sounds incredibly expensive. You see numbers thrown around. Is it a cost or an investment?
It is both. The transition is undeniably costly. Some estimates suggest it could reach $500,000 for individual organizations, maybe more depending on complexity. And the White House has estimated that securing U.S. federal systems alone could cost $7.1 billion by 2035.
Wow, $7 billion just for the U.S. government.
Right. However, this must be seen as a necessary investment in resilience. The economic losses from intellectual property theft, the erosion of consumer trust, and regulatory penalties from a successful quantum attack would be incalculable and dwarf the costs of a proactive transition. It's an investment in future security, in survival, really.
Given these immense challenges, the tech hurdles, the inventory gap, the cost, what's the master strategy to navigate this complex transition? How do organizations actually do this?
2 key strategic concepts have emerged as absolutely essential: hybridization and crypto agility. They're like the 2 legs of our PQC journey, providing both immediate protection and long-term flexibility.
Okay, let's start with hybridization. You mentioned it earlier. What does that involve, and what are its benefits? Why not just switch straight to PQC?
The hybrid approach involves running a new PQC algorithm in parallel with a classic quantum vulnerable algorithm. For example, during a TLS handshake, which establishes a secure connection to a website, the system might use both ML-KEM, the PQC algorithm, and ECC, the classic one, for key exchange simultaneously. Both keys are combined to create the final session key.
So you're doing double the work, kinda.
In a sense, yes, but it offers several critical benefits. First, it provides immediate protection against the H&DL threat because the session is secured with the new quantum-safe algorithm. Even if the classic part is broken later, the PQC part holds.
Okay, protection now.
Second, and crucially, it offers a fallback in case an undiscovered flaw is found in the new PQC standard. Remember psych.
Right.
If ML-KEM somehow turned out to have a flaw we don't know about yet, the classic ECC part would still provide security against classical attackers. It's a vital risk mitigation step, acknowledging that these new algorithms haven't had decades of real-world testing yet. It's like having a belt and suspenders during the transition.
Belt and suspenders, something like that. Makes sense. And then there's crypto agility, which sounds incredibly important for ongoing security, maybe even beyond PQC.
Crypto agility is perhaps the more profound strategic imperative, representing a fundamental shift in mindset. It's defined as a system's ability to swiftly adapt and change cryptographic algorithms without requiring a costly and disruptive overhaul of the entire infrastructure.
So you can swap out crypto easily if needed.
Exactly. Remember the spectacular failure of the psych algorithm we discussed earlier? That was a powerful, real-world demonstration of why crypto agility is essential. A cryptographically agile organization could pivot quickly away from psych once its vulnerability was discovered, maybe switching to another candidate or waiting for the final standard.
Whereas a non-agile one would be stuck or face a huge rewrite.
Precisely. They would face a catastrophic crisis. This is an ongoing strategic discipline, not a one-time project for PQC. It's about building organizational muscle to adapt to an evolving threat landscape, recognizing that cryptographic security is a moving target. New algorithms come, old ones get broken, threats change. You need to be able to adapt.
So this is clearly a much bigger deal than previous cryptographic upgrades. Our sources compare it to the DES to AES transition. Can you walk us through that comparison again briefly to highlight just how significant this PQC shift is?
Sure, that comparison helps truly illustrate the scale of the challenge we face. The reason for DS to AES was a known classical vulnerability. DES's 56-bit key was just too short for modern computers. PQC is driven by a theoretical but widely expected quantum threat from Shor's algorithm. The algorithms being replaced were DES, a symmetric cipher. Now we're replacing fundamental public key systems like RSA and ECC. The new algorithms for DS to AES was AES, basically a stronger symmetric cipher. For PQC, it's a whole new zoo, lattices, hashes, codes based on totally different math. Key sizes for AES were manageable increases. PQC involves potentially much larger keys and signatures, as we discussed. The scope for DS to AES was a major but largely contained software-hardware upgrade for symmetric crypto. PQC is a full-scale global infrastructure overhaul affecting almost every secure communication and transaction system.
So the analogy provided in the sources is spot on then, rebuilding the foundation versus changing the lock.
Indeed. The DES to AES transition was like replacing an old lock with a sturdier one on a single door. Important, but manageable. The PQC transition is analogous to rebuilding the entire foundation of a house while still living in it. It's a paradigm shift in how we secure our digital world, not just a simple upgrade.
So what's the overall impact on cybersecurity from this monumental shift? Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the distinctly quantum. What are the upsides?
Well, the biggest upside is obvious. PQC fundamentally safeguards against future quantum attacks, which is paramount for long-term digital trust. This, in turn, should boost confidence in our entire digital infrastructure for decades to come. And the hybrid models we're seeing deployed today are quickly becoming mainstream, offering an immediate dual-layered protection during this tricky transition period.
And what are the negatives or new challenges that cybersecurity professionals are grappling with? The bad part, so to speak.
The primary negative impacts stem directly from the migration headaches themselves, the cost, the complexity, the need to find all the old crypto, and the absolute necessity of building that deep, sustained commitment to crypto agility across all organizations. That's a huge cultural and technical lift.
And the quantum part. New threats or defenses?
Well, while the quantum threat certainly enables new attack vectors like breaking RSA, the silver lining is that it also drives the development of entirely new defenses. PQC is the main one, but you also hear about things like quantum key distribution, or QKD, though QKD has its own limitations in terms of scalability, cost, and the need for specialized hardware and dedicated fiber optic lines. It's not a general replacement for PQC.
Which sectors are going to be hit hardest by all of this? Where is the vulnerability most acute, needing the fastest action?
Finance is a prime example, with trillions in daily transactions and vast amounts of valuable, long-lived data, including things like real-world assets being tokenized. Institutions must prioritize PQC to maintain customer trust and comply with stringent regulations like GDPR.
Healthcare, too, with patient record.
Absolutely. Healthcare, with its highly sensitive patient records requiring confidentiality for decades, and government with national secrets, are also incredibly exposed to that HNDL threat. And the blockchain world is not immune. Estimates suggest up to 25% of Bitcoin's value could theoretically be at risk due to older address types if PQC isn't integrated in time for wallets and protocols.
It sounds like this reshapes cybersecurity from the ground up, moving us into a new era of digital defense. It's not just about quantum anymore.
It absolutely does. PQC reshapes cybersecurity from what was often a reactive stance patching after a break to a truly proactive one. It forces comprehensive upgrades that, in turn, enhance overall digital security beyond just quantum resistance, improving inventory management, forcing crypto agility, and generally making systems more resilient.
Like the Iron Man analogy.
Exactly. As one of our sources vividly puts it, without PQC, cybersecurity pros would be like firefighters with water guns facing a lava flow. With it, they're Iron Man still sweating, but armored. It's a necessary and powerful evolution of our digital defenses.
This is a truly global phenomenon, affecting everyone, every country. And it brings us to our final section, the quantum era, looking at the profound geopolitical, economic, and future implications of this seismic shift. Quantum computing isn't just about faster computers for science, it's rapidly becoming a new frontier of great power competition, isn't it? There are huge national security implications.
Oh, absolutely. What's truly fascinating and maybe a bit concerning here is that the development of quantum computing is indeed viewed as a new frontier of great power competition with profound geopolitical implications. The first country or alliance to develop a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, a CRQC, would gain a profound intelligence and military advantage.
So, what could they do?
They'd possess the ability to potentially decrypt the secure communications of its rivals past, present, and future thanks to HNDL, giving them unparalleled insight and leverage. This capability has predictably fueled a quantum arms race, reminiscent of the Cold War's nuclear arms race, with nations investing billions into research and development to get there first, or at least keep pace.
So, different countries are taking very different approaches to this rivalry. How does the U.S. compare to China or the EU, for instance?
Yes, their national strategies vary considerably. The United States largely relies on its vibrant private sector, with companies like IBM, Google, Microsoft, IonQ, Quantinuum driving much of the innovation, often through public-private partnerships, though government funding through NSF, DO, etc. is also significant.
Okay, private sector heavy.
China, in contrast, has adopted a massive state-funded approach, pouring huge amounts of government money into research, infrastructure, and talent development, aiming to leapfrog in this area. The European Union has taken a more collaborative and standards-driven approach, funding research and chip factories through programs like Horizon Europe and the EU Chips Act to build technological sovereignty while also promoting global interoperability and ethical guidelines.
This sounds like it could lead to some dangerous fragmentation in our global digital infrastructure, which relies on seamless communication, if everyone uses different crypto.
This raises an extremely important question, yeah. If different nations or alliances adopt non-interoperable cryptographic countermeasures, for instance, if one commits solely to NIST PQC standards while another pursues more expensive and less scalable alternatives like quantum key distribution, QKD, or maybe even develops proprietary non-standard algorithms.
They might not be able to talk securely anymore.
Exactly. It could make it impossible for them to securely communicate. This would not only create immense logistical challenges for civilian industries and global trade, but could also potentially fracture critical military and intelligence alliances, leading to a far more unstable and less secure geopolitical landscape for everyone. Interoperability is key. Hashtag 5.2 societal and economic impact.
It sounds like quantum computing is a real double-edged sword for society, offering immense promise but also immense risk.
It absolutely is. While quantum computing holds the potential to revolutionize industries like finance, optimizing portfolios, healthcare, drug discovery, material science, and even climate forecasting, offering solutions to problems currently intractable for classical computers.
The good stuff.
Right, the good stuff. But it simultaneously poses a massive existential security risk to these very sectors if our current cryptography is compromised before new defenses like PQC are fully in place.
And the financial sector seems particularly vulnerable, given the volume and value of transactions and all that stored data.
Indeed. Trillions of dollars in daily transactions and vast amounts of sensitive customer data are perpetually at risk. Financial institutions are already primary targets for cybercriminals and nation-states, and they must prioritize the transition to PQC to maintain customer trust and comply with stringent regulations like GDPR. The economic consequences of a major breach in the global financial system could be catastrophic, far outweighing the cost of a proactive PQC transition.
Plus all those long-term records.
Exactly. Long-lived financial records and real-world assets digitized on ledgers are especially exposed to the HNDL threat.
For some sectors, data confidentiality is a very long-term requirement, not just years, but decades. That makes the HNDL threat particularly acute, doesn't it?
Yes, the harvest now, decrypt later threat is most acutely felt by sectors dealing with long-lived, highly sensitive data such as government, classified documents, defense, weapons designs, and healthcare, patient records, military and government secrets, valuable intellectual property, and patient medical records often require confidentiality for decades, sometimes 50 years or more.
So the data being harvested today could be exposed in 2040 or 2050.
Precisely. The very real threat that this data is being collected today to be decrypted in the quantum future means that a proactive PQC migration is no longer an option, but a strategic necessity. Delay in these areas is truly a form of accumulating vulnerability.
And this all requires massive investment, which many might see as a burden, especially smaller organizations.
It's a significant investment, undoubtedly. We mentioned the White House estimate of $7.1 billion for U.S. federal systems alone by 2035. However, this must be unequivocally seen as a necessary investment in national and global resilience. The economic losses from intellectual property theft, the erosion of consumer trust, and the potentially crippling regulatory penalties from a successful quantum attack would be incalculable and dwarf the costs of a proactive transition.
And the market is responding. Is there a PQC industry growing?
Yes, we are already seeing the market respond robustly. The PQC market is projected to grow rapidly from around $300 million in 2024 to nearly $1.9 billion by 2029, illustrating market recognition of this imperative and the growth of solutions and services.
So as we look to the horizon, what does the future of PQC actually look like? What should we expect in the coming years? What's the timeline?
Well, industry analysts like Gartner predict that PQC must effectively replace classical asymmetric cryptography by 2029, with full adoption expected across most critical systems by the 2030-2035 timeframe.
So the next 5–10 years are critical.
Absolutely critical. We anticipate that hybrid cryptographic approaches, which are so vital now for risk mitigation and building confidence, will gradually evolve into pure PQC solutions as quantum technology matures, and our confidence in the new standards solidifies through years of real-world deployment and continued cryptanalysis.
What are some of the key trends we should expect to see emerging in this space as adoption accelerates?
We'll see continued and accelerated development of crypto agility standards and tooling, making it easier for systems to discover, manage, and switch algorithms as needed. PQC will be increasingly integrated directly into hardware, for example, in microcontrollers from companies like Infineon, or secure elements baking security in from the chip level, which is crucial for performance and security.
Hardware integration, okay.
No.
What else?
Specific blockchains like Hedera and Algorand are already leading the way in PQC adoption and demonstrating how it can be done. And we can also expect to see the exciting combination of AI and PQC for even smarter and more resilient security solutions, where AI might help manage cryptographic inventories, detect migration issues, or even analyze traffic patterns, while PQC provides the unshakable foundation.
AI plus PQC. Interesting. And are there still risks of new cryptographic breaks? Like what happened with Psych? Even with these robust new NIST standards, could one of the main ones fall?
New breaks are always a possibility. Cryptography is an ongoing arms race, an intellectual battle between builders and breakers. We can never be 100% certain about the long-term security of any algorithm.
So we need to stay vigilant.
Absolutely. However, the diversity of algorithms being adopted with primary and backup standards from different mathematical families like lattices, hashes, and codes is our key mitigation strategy. By not putting all our eggs in one mathematical basket, we significantly reduce the impact of any single vulnerability that might be discovered.
The diversity helps manage the risk.
Exactly. As one of our sources humorously puts it, the future of PQC is bright. Unless a quantum AI overlord decides to rewrite math, then we're all cats in boxes. It highlights the inherent uncertainty, but also our robust, diversified defensive strategy against that uncertainty. Hashtag tag outro.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into post-quantum cryptography. This isn't just about a new type of technology. It's about a fundamental refounding of our digital trust, preparing us for a future that, in many ways, has already arrived. PQC is our ticket to a secure quantum era, a necessary act of survival and resilience in the digital age. The quantum threat is real, it's immediate, and that harvest now, decrypt later strategy means that every day of delay increases our vulnerability.
What's truly critical to emphasize, though, is that we are not facing this problem without a solution. The NIST standardization process, that whole global effort, has delivered a set of rigorously vetted quantum-resistant algorithms, FIPS 203 ML-KEM, 204 ML-DSA, and 205 SLH-DSA, with HQC as a crucial backup chem.
The tools are there.
The tools are there. These algorithms are ready for adoption, and their diverse mathematical foundations provide robust protection against known quantum threats.
So for you, our listener, whether you're prepping for a high-stakes meeting, leading a digital transformation in your organization, or just insanely curious about the future of technology, here's a clear, actionable roadmap based on expert guidance to prepare for this quantum future. First, inventory. You have to know what you have. Identify all cryptographic systems, sensitive data assets, and their long-term confidentiality requirements within your organization or even your personal digital footprint. You can't protect what you don't know you have or what you don't realize needs long-term protection.
That discovery phase is critical. Second, plan. Develop a comprehensive migration plan with clear timelines and allocated budgets. Don't underestimate the effort. Account specifically for the unique challenges of PQC, including those larger key sizes, increased bandwidth needs, storage impacts, and necessary hardware upgrades. This isn't just a tech task, it's a strategic imperative requiring executive buy-in.
Third, implement. Start now. Begin using hybrid cryptographic approaches immediately. Run those new PQC algorithms alongside your classical crypto, the belt and suspenders approach. Prioritize systems that protect your long-lived, high-value data first, as they are the most susceptible to harvest now, decrypts later attacks. Get those crown jewels protected, ASAP.
And fourth, perhaps most importantly for the long term, agilize. Cultivate cryptographic agility as a core organizational capability. This isn't a one-time project just for PQC, it's an ongoing strategic discipline. The inherent ability to swiftly adapt to new threats and algorithm changes, ensuring you're never caught off guard again by the next psych or the next big cryptographic shift.
This is more than a technical upgrade. It's about proactively preparing for a future that has, in many ways, already arrived. The leaders who act now will not only secure their own organizations, safeguarding invaluable data and hard-won trust, but will also play a pivotal role in shaping the new era of digital trust for generations to come. So the final thought for you is, what steps will you take to prepare for this quantum future?